everybody, it's Alex Miller, and today we're going to be going over the 7 major steps of buying a home in northern Denver, Colorado. Step number 1 is going to be getting pre-approved. So getting pre-approved is pretty easy. We have, multiple partners that we work with that do a great job. There's a few recommendations that I would recommend when getting a loan officer. First thing is I typically try to steer away from banks. Banks are great for when you're getting a car loan or, any kind of other loan. They do great with banking needs. However, when it comes to mortgages, typically the banks that I'm seeing that you're working with, there's a few things that are challenging with them. So first is their closing days. Typically they are closing anywhere from 45 or more days. Which in this kind of a market is really going to be hard to get your offer accepted with that. The other thing about banks is that typically it's a 1-800 number, so you're not having a specific loan officer that you're dealing with. You're calling and you're going to be sitting on the phone waiting. The lenders that we work with are great. They provide the lowest rates possible. They guarantee it. If they can't get you the lowest rates, they'll give you a $50 gift card, which is great. The other thing about working with them is everything's in-house. So you're working with one person, you have that direct line of contact. It's just nice to be able to pick the phone up, give them a call, and figure out where your loan's at and what's going on, what they need, how you can get your loan figured out first. So getting pre-approved is definitely the great step. So there's 2 different steps. First is going to be getting pre-qualified. Getting pre-qualified is just when they call, you have your first talk, and it's a verbal. You let them know where your credit score's at, you let them know how much you make as income, and then getting pre-approved is when you send over all of your paperwork. They're going to be able to go through and see that you're going to be able to be approved for this loan. We can go more into getting pre-approved in another video. Step 2 is the fun part. Step 2, we're going to be going out and looking at houses. So before we even start to go out and look at houses, I always like to get crystal clear on what it is that's important for you and your family to find the right house. So obviously that's going to be, the basic minimums of bed and baths, as well as what's important to you. Do you need a 2-car garage? Do you need a big backyard? Do you not want any backyard at all? Are you looking at a townhouse? Are you looking for something that doesn't have an HOA? Those are all the kind of basic things, where exactly you're looking and what's important to you in your new home and in your new community. So step 3 is when we go out, we find the perfect house, we know exactly the house that you want, and this is when we're going to be writing up a contract. So the main things when writing up a contract is I'm going to be calling the listing agent and just seeing where the offers are at for that house, if there's any offers in, how much the house is going for. There's a few different things of being competitive, which we can jump into in another video, but I can just explain. There's, waiving inspection, doing health and safety only for inspection. We can do things called appraisal gaps and, a quick close. So those are a few things to make your offer competitive. The things that I'll be sending over is your offer. Thankfully, in this modern age, we can do everything online. I can type up your offer, send it over, and just get signatures, and we'll be on our way. So I'll be sending that over with the pre-approval letter from your lender, and then some listing agents will allow it, some won't. It's kind of a gray line on that, but I always recommend to my clients to write up a love letter, just to tell them why you love their house, why you see that being a perfect fit for you and your family. It just kind of helps get things more emotional. When you're looking at a bunch of different contracts and you're just seeing numbers and everything can kind of be the same. But when you see a story about a family, it kind of allows you to get deeper and get a feel for them. I think that really helps my clients' offers stand out. So step 4, we're going to be under contract. This is going to be typically the first week on the contract. There's different dates and deadlines. You're going to be doing title work, that kind of thing. And then the first week we're going to get our inspection. So when we go in and get our inspection, we're going to go in and the inspector is going to tell us everything we want to know and didn't want to know about the house. So they're going to pick it apart. They're going to let us know about the foundation, HVAC system, roof, everything about the house. Like I was saying, the major parts that we're looking for in the house that we want to make sure are solid is the foundation, the HVAC system, so heating and cooling. I'd take a look at the water heater and the roof. So I always typically look at these when we're out doing showings. Obviously, I am a realtor, I'm not an inspector, so I do the best that I can to make sure that we avoid any of these issues so we don't come into bumps when it comes to inspection. However, when we do the inspection, the major things, we want to make sure that those are taken care of. The other thing in that is the sewer scope. So these are all really costly repairs. Foundation issues can be huge, very costly. Water heaters are typically about $1,000 to $1,500, around there. And then water heaters will typically last about 10 to 15 years. HVAC systems, furnaces, those will typically last about 30 years. And then foundation, it's not necessarily how long it's gonna last. It's just making sure that the water is going away from the house. We can explain that in a different video as well. So what's gonna happen during the inspection period is we're gonna go get that done, and we're gonna get a whole list of everything that the inspector thinks needs to be done. I always just focus on the major things, the major huge ticket items, and sometimes they'll say an outlet cover is broken or a light switch thing is broken. Typically I say let's just try to steer away from asking for those things and just focus on the major things. So we're gonna write up our inspection objection, and then the sellers will come back with their inspection resolution to how they're gonna fix these problems. So step 5 is gonna be the appraisal. So what the appraisal is the lender is gonna send out a third party that's gonna take a look at what this house is worth, and they're gonna give it a value. So let's just say that you offered $400,000 and the house appraises at $410,000. This is So step 4 is gonna be the appraisal. What the appraisal is the lender is going to send out somebody to appraise the value of the house and make sure that what you're offering on this house, that it is valued at that value. There's a few different ways that the appraiser gets their value. One of the main things is they're going to go and take a look at what the other houses in the area that are comparable houses to that have sold for. They're just going to go out there and take a look. In this market, we're seeing things go 10 to 15,000, even 20,000 over asking. That's where this appraisal gap comes in. If you're offering above asking price, what's going to happen is if the appraisal comes in short, if you didn't put in an appraisal gap, then that's going to be a negotiation period where either you're going to have to come up with some money out of pocket or the seller's going to have to come down on their price. So that's what the appraisal period is. And let's go on to the next step. So step number 6 is going to be the final walkthrough. We are going to go and take a walk through the house. This is typically 1 or 2 days before closing. I'm just going to be checking make sure that there's no leaks, make sure that everything's in working order, there's no extra holes in the wall or damage to the house that we didn't see during the showing and the inspection. So this is anything that's happened typically between inspection and final walkthrough. This gives you a chance to see your brand new house. Sometimes the sellers will be there to explain how the sprinklers work, and it's their baby, it's their house. They're gonna just show you everything about the house and obviously we can negotiate for sellers not to be there, so you can just take a final walkthrough and take a look at the house. This is always an exciting day. And finally, step number 7. We finally got there. We're here at the closing table. Big tips for today: make sure that you stretch out your wrist. It's gonna be a lot of signing. Now, if you're doing a cash deal, maybe not as much signing, but if you have a loan, just be prepared to be signing a lot of documents, a lot of paperwork. You're buying one of the biggest things, and so yeah, it's gonna take typically about an hour. We're gonna be doing this at the title company during COVID. Some of the times there was, outside in your car closings. Thankfully, closings look a little bit different now. It used to be with the buyer and seller. However, nowadays with COVID, it's typically just buyer closes and seller closes separately. And that's when you're gonna get your keys. Typically, if you don't have a post-occupancy where the seller is renting back. And today's the day, you get to move in. So if there's any other questions that came up along this that you would like me to go into more detail about, please let me know. I'd love to explain this to you and help you through questions that you have. Please hit the like button below and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can get more educated on buying your first home or buying a home in the northern Denver metro market. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.